It all started with a gnome. Not a magical, wish-granting gnome from a fairy tale, but a chubby, cheerful, ceramic fellow named Barnaby that my 7-year-old daughter placed proudly by our rose bushes. He was holding a tiny fishing rod. It was adorable. A week later, the first missive arrived from the Covenant Hills Homeowners Association Board of Directors. It was printed on the stiffest, most official-looking paper I've ever felt, as if they'd laminated a slice of cardboard. Notice of violation. Unauthorized lawn protrusion. Property, 1421 Serenity Lane. Date, October 11th. Violation. CCR 14B, Section 9. No statuary, ornamentation, or non-floral yard art shall be displayed on any lot without prior written approval from the Architectural Review Committee. You are hereby ordered to remove the unauthorized garden gnome, hereafter referred to as the protrusion, within 48 hours. Failure to comply will result in a fine of $50 per day until the protrusion is removed. Sincerely, Brenda Hockney, HOA President. I laughed. I actually laughed out loud on my doorstep. A lawn protrusion? It sounded like a medical condition. I'm a reasonable guy. I work from home as a paralegal, a job that has gifted me the patience of a saint and a deep, abiding love for meticulously reading fine print. I figured it was a mistake. I'd just call and clear it up. The phone call was enlightening. Brenda Hockney speaking. A voice chirped, sharp enough to slice bread. Hi, Brenda. It's Alex from 1421 Serenity Lane. I got your notice about my daughter's garden gnome. Yes, the protrusion. It's an eyesore and lowers property values. An eyesore? He's fishing, Brenda. He's contributing to the neighborhood's aquatic aesthetic. CCR 14B, Section 9 is very clear, Mr. Carter. No unapproved statuary. The committee meets quarterly to review applications. Quarterly? So my daughter has to wait 3 months for a committee to decide if a 6-inch gnome is worthy of our rose bed. The rules are the rules. For the collective good. We can't have one person's whimsy creating visual chaos. I took a deep breath. Okay, I'll submit the application. But in the meantime, can you suspend the fine? He's making my kid happy. A waiver would set a dangerous precedent. The fine stands until compliance is met. That was my first red flag. The pettiness. The unyielding adherence to nonsense. So I did what any sane person would do. I went inside, printed a photo of Barnaby the gnome, filled out the absurd application form I found online, and dropped it in the mail. And then I started a folder. I labeled it HOA Nonsense. Barnaby's application was, predictably, denied a week later. The reason cited? Proposed statuary does not conform to the neighborhood's established aesthetic of minimalist elegance. Meanwhile, my folder was getting thicker. I received a violation for my grass being a 1/4 inch too long after a weekend of rain. Another for my garbage cans being visible from the street for a period exceeding 1 hour prior to scheduled pickup. My mailbox, a perfectly standard black metal one, was deemed non-conforming because it lacked an approved brushed nickel finish. Each time, I paid the petty fines. Each time, I requested hearings. Each time, I was met with Brenda's smug, unblinking certainty over a folding table in the community clubhouse. She was the archetypal HOA Karen. Blonde bob sharp enough to cut glass, oversized sunglasses perpetually perched on her head, and a wardrobe consisting entirely of tennis skirts and pastel polo shirts. Her chief enforcer was her husband, Gary, a man with the energy of a deflated bounce house and the permanent expression of someone who just smelled spoiled milk. Gary would patrol the neighborhood in a golf cart, taking photos of violations with a telephoto lens like a suburban paparazzo. The final straw was the unauthorized color palette violation. My front door is a deep, tasteful navy blue. The notice claimed it was not one of the HOA-approved historical shades. That's it, I told my wife, Sarah. This is war. I stopped reacting and started researching. I dove into the covenants, conditions, and restrictions, CC and RS, like it was the Da Vinci Code. I cross-referenced bylaws, meeting minutes from the last decade, and state laws governing HOAs. I discovered glorious, beautiful loopholes. For instance, the rules against non-floral yard art said nothing about temporary displays. So, I bought a high-quality, weatherproof projector. Every evening at dusk, I projected a giant, shimmering holographic image of Barnaby the gnome onto the side of my house. He waved. He did a little jig. He was 10 feet tall. Brenda's head nearly exploded. She tried to fine me for an unapproved digital installation. I appealed, citing the temporary and non-physical nature of the display. The board, flummoxed, had to let it go. But my real project was Brenda Hockney herself. If she was going to live by the sword of the CC and RS, she was going to die by them. I started my reconnaissance. Gary's golf cart was a treasure trove of hypocrisy. From my office window, with a good pair of binoculars and a powerful camera, I documented it all. I found the shed, a massive prefab garden shed in their backyard, clearly visible from the greenbelt. No record of an ARC application existed for it. The paint. Their own shutters were a shade of forest green not on the approved historical shades list. The business. Brenda ran a bespoke candle-making business from her garage. CCR 7A explicitly prohibited any commercial enterprise operated from a residential lot. Delivery trucks came twice a week. The fence. Their backyard fence was 6 feet tall. The bylaws, which Brenda herself had cited to force old Mr. Henderson to chop down his beloved willow tree, clearly stated a maximum fence height of 4 feet for unobstructed sight lines. I had her. I compiled a dossier with photos, timestamps, and highlighted sections of the bylaws. It was a thing of beauty. I was waiting for the right moment to deploy it. I didn't have to wait long. This is where the Harley comes in. Her name is Betty. She's a 2021 Softail standard. All black and chrome. My pride and joy. I keep her polished and covered on a concrete pad next to my driveway. One Tuesday at 2 a.m., my security camera app pinged my phone. Motion detected at the side of my house. I pulled up the feed. It was Brenda's son, Chad, a 19-year-old who had clearly peaked in high school and now dedicated his life to vaping and wearing extremely expensive distressed jeans. He wasn't just looking at Betty. He had the cover off and was fiddling with the ignition with a screwdriver. He was trying to hotwire my bike. I was out of bed and down the stairs in seconds. I didn't yell. I just walked out the front door, crossed my lawn, and stood about 10 feet from him, my arms crossed. I'm a big guy, 6 feet 2 inches, and the silence was more frightening than any shout. He jumped, dropping the screwdriver. Dude, it was making a weird noise. I was checking it. At 2 a.m.? Without asking. I said, my voice calm. That's called attempted grand theft auto, Chad. His bravado returned, fueled by panic and privilege. Whatever, man. My mom runs this neighborhood. You think anyone's gonna believe you? You're the one with the gnome and the stupid blue door. You're a weirdo. I pointed to the camera mounted under the eave. It's all on video, Chad. The whole thing. I'm calling the cops. His face went white. He scrambled backward, got in his jacked-up truck, and peeled out. I saved the video file in 3 separate locations and went back to bed, my heart thumping with a righteous thrill. The next morning, my phone rang. Unknown number. Alex Carter? A gruff, older voice said. Yeah. Who's this? This is Sergeant Miller, from the county sheriff's office. I'm getting a call here from a very concerned citizen, a Mrs. Hockney. My eyebrows hit my hairline. Is that so? Yeah. She says you made a false and threatening accusation against her son last night. She says you have some kind of grudge against the family. She's insisting we come out and talk to you about filing a false report. She's quite persuasive. I could hear Brenda shrieking in the background. Tell him, Steve. Tell him we will not be intimidated. So, Sergeant Steve Miller was a family friend. Or maybe just Gary trying to do a tough guy voice. It was pathetic. I stayed calm. Well, Sergeant, I have full high-definition video of Chad Hockney attempting to break the ignition on my Harley-Davidson last night at 2:07 a.m. It shows his face perfectly. I'd be happy to email it to the real Sheriff's Department non-emergency line. along with a record of this call, which I am also recording. Would you like me to do that? There was a long, dead silence. Then a sputter. Then the line went dead. Game on. The monthly HOA meeting was that Thursday. It was packed. Brenda, at the head of the table, gavel in hand, looked triumphant. She thought I was there to surrender. Now, under new business, she began. We have the matter of the ongoing violations at 1421 Serenity. I stood up. Actually, Brenda, I'd like to raise a point of order regarding several urgent violations. She sighed theatrically. We have a process, Mr. Carter. You need to. I think the community will be very interested in these, I said, pulling out my phone and a small projector. I plugged it in and aimed it at the wall. Let's start with Violation Exhibit A. I clicked a button. A massive, crystal-clear photo of Brenda's illegal shed filled the wall. A collective gasp went through the room. CCR 12C, I said calmly. No external structures over 100 square feet without ARC approval. I have the meeting minutes for the last 5 years. No application was ever submitted. Brenda sputtered. That's pre-existing. According to county satellite imagery, it was installed 18 months ago. Click. A timeline appeared. While you were president. I moved on. Click. A side-by-side of her forest green shutter and the approved color palette. Violation Exhibit B. Unapproved shutter color. Click. A video of a UPS truck leaving her driveway, stacked with boxes labeled Hockney Homemade Scents. Violation Exhibit C. Operating a commercial business from your residence. Click. A photo of her towering fence with a measuring tape overlay. Violation Exhibit D. Fence height exceeding 4 feet. The room was buzzing. People were leaning forward, their eyes wide. And finally, I said, my voice dropping, the reason for this personal crusade. I played the security footage of Chad trying to steal my bike. The room erupted in shouts. Then, I played the audio of my phone call with Sergeant Miller. Brenda's face was a mask of pure, undiluted horror. I am now, I announced, filing a formal police report for attempted vehicle theft and impersonating a law enforcement officer. And I will be motioning for an immediate vote of no confidence in Brenda Hockney's presidency, citing gross negligence, hypocrisy, and a blatant disregard for the very rules she weaponizes against her neighbors. It was a bloodbath. It wasn't even a fight. The other board members, who had been cowed by her for years, suddenly found their spines. A retired lawyer named Mr. Abernathy stood up and formally seconded my motion. The vote was unanimous. Brenda Hockney was removed as HOA president, effective immediately. Epilogue. The new order. Brenda and Gary put their house on the market a month later. Chad, facing real legal consequences, accepted a plea deal for community service. The new board, with me as the reluctant but determined vice president of common sense, spent our first meeting repealing the most absurd rules. Barnaby the gnome is now a permanent, legally sanctioned resident of 1421 Serenity Lane. We established an amnesty period for everyone to bring their properties into compliance without fines. My navy blue door? It's now the official color of the Serenity Lane historical palette. We even added a shade called reasonable blue. Sometimes you have to fight petty with pettier, but it's always better to fight it with facts, a good camera, and the serene knowledge that sooner or later, every HOA Karen's son will try to steal a Harley. And when he does, you'd better be ready.